All right, fellas, I'm going to start off this video saying this. I made a video 2 days ago, the Caffeinated Car Talk, talking about the message of Abraham Lincoln, talking about freaking that your future ain't predetermined. You got to grab it by the freaking cojones and steer it in whichever direction it is you want to go. And the only way you can do that is just by freaking doing it, committing and jumping in. And I say that because I'm fired up. Because let me tell you, I've been freaking... This is like the 4th or 5th time now that I started this video, because it was like I wanted to have the perfect tongue twister, you know, like disgustingly diced Del Hagen spits the tidbits in your eyes, 365, you know, BS. It doesn't freaking matter. And that's where all these knowledge bombs, you know, make sense then. You know, I was making this video, and it's just like, it don't have to be perfect. Nothing has to be perfect. Don't overthink it. What does they call it? Paralysis by analysis? So it's like, damn, Del Hagen, just make the freaking video. So that's what I'm doing. I don't care about the perfect tongue-twisting analogy. We're just going to get into it. I'm sick of it. All right? So, what are we talking about today? Today, guys, it hit me like a ton of freaking bricks. That just because something worked for you in the past, you know, you can't always rely on it to work for you going forward, all right? And I'm going to give you an example by that. I've had for years now, people were telling me in terms of, I'm going to get to a million freaking analogies for this, fellas, but just bear with me, damn it. Years now, people have been, hey, you got to start focusing on, you know, TikTok, doing that kind of, that's the new generation. It's the TikTok, it's the YouTube shorts and all that. And, you know, I used to do my videos extremely short, just max, boom, that's it. 14 seconds would have been perfect for TikTok, would have been perfect for shorts. But then I kind of, you know, I found my groove with YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Like shorts that weren't short. So like minute-long videos or something along those lines, but not in the shorts format. Right? And people told me I got to keep focusing on them, and I was too damn stubborn. I said, nah, I'm going to do what works for me. This works for me. I'm going to stick with it. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? The old saying. And I shot myself in the foot. You know what I mean? Because the world's ever changing, fellas. It's ever freaking changing. You know what I mean? And you either freaking adapt or you get left behind. You got to freaking evolve or get left freaking behind with the snails. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what happened to me. Got left behind with the freaking slugs and the snails. Because, you know, too stubborn. So, finally, now that I, you know, have a lot of free time on my hands, it's like, well, damn. I got to start doing YouTube shorts. You know what I mean? Because I like making content. But I just got to switch up the content, you know? So it's a strange world we live in, where things that you do for fun, all of a sudden the fun gets sucked out of it, and it's like you got to do what you don't want to do. But it's not about if it's fun or not. It's about just perspective. You know what I mean? You got to change your perspective sometimes. So for me, it's like, well, you know, I used to get on average 5 million views a month, right? Doing whatever I would do, you know, and then YouTube changed the algorithm and it changed all that. And I'm trying as hard as I can to get 1 million views a month. So 4/5 of my views gone because the world is a changing place. You know what I'm saying? So basically, it's about adapting, right? It's about adapting. It's about evolving. It's about, you got to do new things sometimes. And basically, so it's funny that hit me, that it's just, you got to do what you got to do. Because I tried, fellas, I know I'm all over the place, you know, I'm scatterbrained. I mentioned that maybe I should try going back to lifting the way that I did before, you know, freaking specificity, specialization, right? It's like, well, damn, you know, now that I have a lot more time on my hands, maybe I should try to get that 1,000-pound trap bar deadlift now, right? Best I got was 910, right? I got 910 in 2015, I want to say it was, and then 910 in 2020 or something. So 910 and 910, pretty funny, you know, like, it is what it is, but it's like, oh, you know, let's freaking commit and get 1,000 pounds. I think that's possible. And then hell, maybe we'll even go back to behind the backs and Jeffersons and yada yada. But so let's just throw it out there, you know. So I did the trap bar for the first time. You know, I really haven't been focusing on those lifts. Did the trap bar for the first time. I wanted it to be an easy day. Okay, so I got up to 760, and it was a clean, you know, no form breakdown. Good, comfortable. I didn't want to set the bar too high for day one. 760, right? So I said, all right, I'm going to leave it at that. I know I have more in me. Obviously, I could surpass the 8s if I really tried and I really wanted it. But I just was going to stop it there. And I said, I'm going to come back the next day. I'm going to do the 800s, right? Well, 8, maybe add 50 pounds or something. You know, because what I used to do was, you know, I would start the bar kind of low, and I would gradually increase. And then as it got to like grinding maxes, then it was just 5 additional pounds every single day, right? And it was possible, and it was doable, and it really was what worked for me. So I tried the next day, fellas. I think it's 760. So it was like the next day was 710. So even lighter, day 2. And it just felt like hard and slow. And it's like, well, if that was hard and slow, what's the chances I'm going to be able to do, you know, 150 more pounds? 0. You know what I mean? 0 chance. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is I'm not going to give up on it totally yet, but it's just like, just because something worked for you in the past, it doesn't mean it's going to always work for you, basically. And you got to be okay with that, right? It's just like people that, you know, well, I did 5x5 back in the day and I put 100 pounds on my bench or something. It's like, well, that worked for you back then, but would that work for you now? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that the tried and true methods, you know, aren't tried and true for a reason. I'm just saying that your body changes, right? Your body changes, it evolves. It takes time to adapt to things. So as of right now, deadlifting every day, it's just, all I'm going to do with that is just hurt myself until I really just build up a work capacity again, where my freaking spine is getting more comfortable and used to doing that. But as of right now, it'd be foolish me, you know, because listen, I get down on myself. It's like, what the hell? How is this possible? You know what I mean? Because it just feels so weak. But again, I mean, just things change with time, with age, your body changes. Again, not to say it's a bad method, but it just might be, you know, not a good method for me right now. So, you know, for people that have tried it in the past, maybe you tried it and you said it and it worked really great. A lot of people say that they have tried, you know, specializing, specificity, 1 or 2 lifts, crushing them every single day, you know, hitting 5 extra pounds every day, putting 100 pounds on your bench. I've read that a million times from people that they had a lot of success with it. You know, but then of course some people say, well, it did and just got hurt. You know what I mean? Like, or not hurt. Well, I mean, maybe, I'm sure some people maybe got tweaked or something along those lines, but my point is, if it worked for you, it might not work for you in the future. And if it didn't work for you, it might be worth a shot again it might work for you this time. You know what I'm saying? Like, same thing with like the cookie cutter bodybuilding training. You know, when you're new, 3 sets of 10, it's like beautiful. It's all you need. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to make so many gains, get voluptuously pumped and dense with 3 sets of 10. But you can't just expect that to work for you forever. You know what I mean? And we can talk about rep schemes and switching exercises and all that kind of stuff, but I think that's getting beyond the point now. So I think that it applies in all things. And that's why I just made the 2 retrospects or whatever the hell. And I don't care about paralysis by analysis. I don't need the words to be perfect. I think you know what I'm saying. 2 examples of basically what I'm referring to in this regard. But I think you can probably apply to that in a lot of different things. Like, just because, you know, relationships didn't work for you in the past, it doesn't mean that it wouldn't work for you now moving forward. You know what I mean? Maybe you had a bad relationship. You know, you had a girlfriend or something like that, and it broke your heart or whatever. And so you're like, screw relationships. I'm done with them. And, you know, I'm just saying, like, you can't let past experiences, whether they were successful or unsuccessful, dictate the rest of your life, basically. You know, we're ever evolving organisms. And I guess the bigger message is, like, for me, like, why was I so resistant on just making some YouTube shorts. You know what I mean? Like that was the way the platform was going, right? They started focusing more on the shorts to increase viewership and audience and all that. So what was I so hesitant about with evolving with the platform? You know what I mean? And I think ultimately at the end of the day, it's came down to like, I don't want to use fear, for example, because that just seems like a silly word. I'm not like scared to do it. I think it's just but I guess I don't know the other word I can think of, but it's just the fear that it's just not going to work, right? But the funny thing is, why was I worried that that wasn't going to work when basically whatever I was doing now wasn't really working anymore? You know what I mean? If I was getting 5 million views on average, now it's down to 1 million views. That's not working. Like you lost 4/5 of your views. Like something ain't working. I know a lot of channels experience the same thing. I see tons of fitness channels that used to get just millions of views a month that are getting like, you know, pennies now, just freaking, you know, tens of thousands of views when it used to be millions. And it's probably the same thing. It's like you just have to you just have to freaking evolve, right? And I don't want to harp on the same thing. It's not about social media per se. It's the bigger picture of things. And at the end of the day, it's like, why not evolve, do change, right? Like what is another example I'll give you is when I was done with college wrestling, a lot of people told me like I should try getting into MMA, right? Like you just do UFC, right? And I was very hesitant, and obviously hesitant to the point where it never happened. Paralysis by analysis once again, obviously. My whole thing was I didn't want to have to learn all new skills. I put so much time into freaking freestyle, folk style, Greco wrestling, you know what I mean? Like Olympic style wrestling, college wrestling, whatever. I put so much time into that I didn't want to have to start from scratch and put time into jiu-jitsu, you know, boxing, that kind of stuff. And ultimately, you know, if I would have done that, I probably would have been better off, because now here we are. I'm 12 years removed from college wrestling. And I mean, at the end of the day, I got into WWE. So in one way, I use my wrestling background, even though they're nothing alike, and your wrestling background, your college wrestling, it really has zero transfer to professional wrestling. So it's, in a sense, that didn't make any, it would have had more transfer to MMA. But I kind of utilized it in a sense, but with professional wrestling, it was just a whole new skill set to learn anyways. You know what I mean? Just basically choreographed dancing, you know what I mean? Dancing with a partner, choreographed fighting, basically. And that was, so my whole, you know, paralysis to get into MMA, I didn't want to have to learn a whole new skill set and put so much effort and time into it. I had to do it anyways with something else. So I guess what I'm trying to say, it's just a chit chat. You know what I mean? It's just a conversation of things you can, I'm sure you can think about what I'm saying, and of course there's something that you can probably relate to your own life, right? I guess it's just funny because it's like, it all comes down to just doing it, just taking the plunge, and just, you know, sometimes just biting the bullet, doing what you don't want to do. You know what I mean? Like, I can think of honestly a million things in that regard. Another one, for example, like playing guitar. I played guitar for so long, and never obviously like professional, just as a hobby player, but you know, plenty of opportunities to take lessons and that kind of stuff, get to the next level. But again, just for one reason or another, I don't want to dedicate time to it, right? And here we are. And now looking back, it's like, maybe I should have done that. You know what I mean? Like 20 years ago, maybe I should have put a little bit more time, a little bit more effort into it. Who knows what would have happened, right? And I feel like if we keep looking for bigger pictures, it's ultimately just like, what's the worst? When something's like hard, it takes time, what's the worst that's going to happen out of it? And ultimately, I guess failing, if you put a lot of time into something and you failed at your goals, you know what I mean? Like for me, with college wrestling, I didn't reach my goals, not even close, you know what I mean? And so that career ended very bitterly, right? But at the end of the day, I'm still glad that I put the time, the commitment, just the years and years of sacrifice. I can't really look back. I don't have any fond memories of it because it sucked. Wrestling just sucks. You know what I mean? It's hard. There's no glory in it. It's just a very hard, humiliating sport. But I'm still glad I did it because it kind of made me who I am today. And I'm proud of who I am today. I don't really look back at anything, even all the bad experiences, like in college, you know what I mean? Like first time kind of being a free man and just going way too crazy with like drinking and stuff. And, all that, like getting lots of trouble, underage drinking, getting, a handful of tickets and stuff like that. I've talked about that in a different video, but like that was great. I'm glad I experienced all that because that really defined who I am now. You know what I mean? Like I never drink anymore because I've learned my lessons because, that was, if you look back at that, it's like, yeah, it was fun at the time, but it was also a very low, terrible time in my life, right? I was trying to figure out at the end, you try to analyze these times in your life. And like, why was I so caught up on that? Why did that mean so? Why did I have to drink so much? You know what I mean? I think it comes down to just like maybe not being comfortable in your own skin. You know what I mean? Maybe like, I'm trying to think of bigger reasons why. But at the end of the day, like I'm a happy, confident guy now, and I don't feel a need. Like there's still people like, oh, you drink or you smoke or any of that. It's like I don't do any of that. I don't need to do any of that. I like being in my state of mind. I like having total control of myself, and right, because I'm confident and comfortable with who I am, right? But I've learned that through bad experiences in my life. So again, I mean, ultimately, obviously there's good and there's bad, but through the bad, greatness can be achieved, right? But you have to experience the bad in order to experience the greatness, right? So I don't even know what this conversation turned into, right? Again, I feel like this is just an open forum of thoughts, deep thoughts with Del Hagen. But my point is, things are going to suck. Things are going to get hard. You're going to have to do things you don't want to do. But if you resist it, it's only setting yourself up for things to be harder down the road. So it's just like putting the time, putting the commitment, kind of just hunkering down when you need to, knowing that all your pain and suffering will make you a better person, basically. And, yeah, I mean, now I feel like this is just going on in a ramble, but I mean, ultimately my whole point in the first place, fellas, was just because something worked for you in the past doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work for you in the future, right? And we have to keep changing. We have to keep evolving. When people are like, oh, what program, what are you doing? Like, it doesn't even matter, right? Because at the end of the day, that probably wouldn't work the same for you as it worked for me, or it would work better for you than it worked for me. People ask me like, oh, are you still doing Bulgarian? I don't do that anymore. I'm going to try out. Maybe I'll keep trying, but it's just not the same. It doesn't work quite the same for me as it did 10 years ago, right? When my knees were freaking bulletproof and, zero back pain. Not that I have any back pain, but my knees definitely aren't bulletproof anymore. That's for sure. But those were great times. I don't regret doing it. You know what I mean? I don't regret training that way. It definitely, I think, strengthened my mind knowing that I did 5 pounds yesterday. I can do freaking 5 pounds today, no matter what. Do or die, I'm getting this weight up, right? It definitely proved to me that your mind is more powerful than your freaking body, in a sense. Your body will do what your mind wants it to do. You know what I mean? If you don't, and I've learned through training that way too, that it's like, if you doubt it for a second, you're not getting it. But if you're totally confident, you don't question it, you're freaking doing it. I've put 100 pounds on my bench training that way. I put 100 pounds on my deadlift training that way. Time and time again, it was always worked. Again, not saying I won't do that, but saying that day 2, holy buckets. Not even close to being successful, not even close to hitting a PR, right? We're hundreds of pounds away from a PR right now, but my point is weaker day 2. So we're all different, unique organisms and recovery time and all that. So, take it for what it's worth, fellas. Anyways, just some tidbits while as I sit in the car here, you know, suck down a cup of Joe, right? With that being said, fellas, I'm uploading a lot more shorts now, basically, because I just kind of want my channel to pick up in the algorithm, just to try to get it back to where it was. And that's the thing too. It's like, I don't care anymore. I really don't care about, like, oh man, my channel's got to be hardcore, intense, 1-rep maxing. If anything else this doesn't fit my mold, which I don't even care anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I'll put 1-rep maxes. I'll put all my lifting stuff on my shorts. I just uploaded a video of freaking comparing 1990s Lou Ferrigno to 1980s Arnold, because, like, you know, I talk about classic gyms. I love going to classic gyms. I love just the vibe of old school stuff. Going to those gyms, seeing old school posters and stuff. It's like, well, why not just freaking do some comparisons, old school bodybuilding things? You know what I mean? Like, why not? You know what I mean? Like, ultimately, I've kind of just learned that a lot of the viewers and this channel and all that, it's just, you know, just hanging out with the bros, basically. I don't think there needs to be a perfect theme for anything. I don't think there needs to be, I'm going to click on this video to learn how to deadlift. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's been done. Like, the internet's evolved beyond that. You know, basically, I think just what it is people find others that you know, you're on the same freaking thought process. You know, you're operating on the same level. You know, it's like, I like this guy. I click with this guy. This guy's speaking my language. You know, let's freaking check in with them, see how they're doing. You know what I mean? So it's just, you know, throwing shit at the wall, seeing what sticks. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I think the bigger message is, it'll always come down to it's a mindset, basically. You know what I mean? Like, you know, obviously a big part of my life right now is that I was in WWE for 6.5 years, and now I'm not. But I'm very happy because I've learned through, you know, my past. I'm 35 years old now. You know, I wasn't, you know, super confident out of college. I wasn't super confident what I wanted to do with my life. But I've just learned throughout all these years that, like, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter, you know, as long as you freaking, you know, as long as you carry yourself in a freaking strong-mannered, confident way. Like, you can do anything you want. It's going to take work. It's going to take, you know, digging deep, grinding. No matter what you do, if you want to be successful, it's going to take work. But I mean, honestly, like, it's all a mindset, fellas. And I hate to keep saying that, because I've been saying that I feel like I've been saying that online now for 9 years or something. So it's starting to sound like just a cliche, but everything comes down to just your mindset, right? I feel like, and obviously not to undermine depression and clinical things like that, because I feel like that's very real. Obviously, you know, dopamine and serotonin imbalances and all that. But like, perspective's a mindset, you know, and you can look at things in a positive light. You can look at things in a negative light, and depending on just how you view things, like, naturally, and I think it was the way I raised, naturally, I want to look at things very negatively. That's kind of how, where my mind goes right away, is the negative. But then I have to go back and look at the positives, right? Like, for instance, blowing out my patellar tendon at WrestleMania, right? Opening match of the show, biggest show of the year, you know, huge opportunity, blowing out my patellar tendon. You look at that, a lot of people are saying it ruined my career, right? And maybe it contributed it to a bit, but I honestly, like, beyond the initial, like, you know, it's like, you know, depression of why this happened, you know, I look at that as a blessing as well, right? Because it gave me a lot of time with my family, you know, critical time of my daughter's development. You know, I got to go meet her at lunch at school and eat lunch with her. I got to be with my wife every day. You know, we got a routine where we would work out together. Like, that's why she got so much more involved with my channel. She wasn't really involved in my channel before, but because of my injury, she got more involved in my channel. Just changing my training, find other stuff that works for me that I'll carry with me for the rest of my, obviously, life, because I'm going to train for the rest of my life. right? I love it. I just love it. I love it more than, just love it. I love lifting. I love all things training. Like, that's all I love doing. You know what I mean? Aside from being with my family, obviously, but, and then it's the same thing. It's like, you look at me, well, obviously now we'll get to that, but like when I was, one of the assistant coach, I was the assistant like strength coach for the Wisconsin Badgers after college. And, due to funds and change of direction or whatever, like they decided to hire a different guy. And like, I was like, well, shit, what am I going to do with my life now? You know what I mean? And it was because of that led to me like moving to Milwaukee, which led to me, the jobs aside, all that, it led to me basically losing my mind in a sense, doing the, all the weird behind the back deadlifts and just going crazy with that kind of stuff. But then also like, doing some like strength coaching and all that, but then seeing that didn't pay very well. So that transitioned me into trying sales up, because there's apparently a lot of money in sales. But then that gave me the perspective that like, man, money is not worth like not being happy, right? Because I was making more money in sales, but I hated it. I hated, like kind of tricking people into buying something that maybe they didn't need. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, I feel like I like to be just a very honest person with people, and with sales, it was like, you try to sell them the most expensive thing, even if they might not need it. And then you'd have people listen to your call, like your employers listen to your calls. What are you offering that? Like, for instance, there was like a discount, like for people that were, low income or whatever. But it's like, you had to find out that they were low income before you could offer them a discount. But for me, I'm like, screw that. I'll take less. I would rather take less commission and feel good about myself, giving them the deal right away, telling them like, hey, by the way, you can get this for cheaper. You know what I mean? As opposed to them like, oh man, we're gonna have to shell out all of our money for this. It's like, you don't, and I don't want to make commission off. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I learned that about myself, and it's through all these hardships that you learn, and that's obviously just like what growing up is, and going through bad things and getting perspective on that. Because I could look at all that stuff and think, oh, it sucks. Like, F them firing me, and right. So it's just perspective is what I'm trying to say. And I think that's the most critical thing in everything. It's just perspective. It's something I need to continue working on, because I can be very negative at times. But at the end of the day, like, I think we all need better perspective. I think it'll make us happier, make the world a better place. And with the training stuff too, it's like, because this all revolves back to training. It's like, if you fail, so for instance, for me, day 1 in trap bar deadlifting, setting the bar low. Day 2, trap bar deadlifting, even though I set the bar low, I didn't even get, I couldn't even reach that bar the next day, which is like pitiful. But it's the perspective, okay, I have some work to do in terms of work capacity. I've been there before. I know I can supersede that, of course, just with enough commitment. And I forgot what we were even talking about. I can supersede that with enough commitment. Or just, I don't even know, fellas. This video is getting really long. Perspective. I don't want to ramble too much. This is already probably the longest video I've ever uploaded right now. So, damn, I wanted to complete that trap bar deadlift analogy I was making. What the hell was I even talking about? Damn, I feel like I had a great analogy too. Failed the PR, the perspective. So failing, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So even if you fail, this is good, you gotta listen to this. Even if you fail, it's not a fail, right? Because if you can't do a full rep, that's still not a failure. You're pushing. Just because you didn't complete the rep doesn't mean that you didn't put effort into the rep. And that's always what I gotta tell like myself at times, or I gotta tell my wife too, because she's like, she'll try a heavy weight or something, she'll be like, Mom, damn it. And I'm like, no, listen, that's good. Like, you felt the weight in a sense. You literally gave it 100% effort. So it's not like you're stopping this workout short. Like, oh, I only hit X amount of weight. It's like, no, you were shooting for a PR, right? And that was PR level weight that you freaking gave 100% freaking muscle stimulus to. So just because it didn't go through X amount of range of motion doesn't nullify the fact that that's the first time you put your brain to like, I think I can do this, and I'm gonna freaking try to do this, and that's more than half the battle. Because next time you do it, you're more confident, right? And then next thing, like, I'm gonna freaking do it this time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, no matter what you do, the worst thing you can do with anything is obviously to just do nothing, right? So, wow. I mean, I feel like we can talk forever, fellas. I'm gonna stop this. This video is way too long right now, but I feel like this was a good chit chat. It's very therapeutic in a sense. So, with that being said, I'm very dehydrated. Way too much caffeine today. I'm gonna go suck down some water.